we've been discussing all morning long, oil prices hit a 3-year high ahead of promised U.S. military action in Syria. And the Federal Reserve sees inflation heating up. Edward Stringham, president of the American Institute for Economic Research, and Mark Lichtenfeld, chief income strategist at the Oxford Club. They both join me now. Good morning, guys. Good to see you. Ed, I'll start with you. I want to get right on this, the global worries, really about some kind of conflict in the Middle East, really rattling markets yesterday. The Dow down 218 points. Mattis headed to Capitol Hill today. All eyes on this. How closely, Ed, will the markets be watching this?
Oh, a lot. Or interferes with businesses doing things as they want to, and it's going to be interfering with supply chain, and it's going to be causing conflict. So businesses don't like this. It rattles markets. It's going to be making goods more expensive, commodities more expensive. It's just going to be interfering with things all around. So yeah, businesses are going to be worried.
Businesses worried, traders worried. Markets headed lower yesterday, but possibly higher this morning. Mark, when you look at this, I think some of the concerns yesterday was that President Trump was out in front of his own Secretary of Defense. How important is that issue to markets?
I think it is important. Obviously, the market wants to see some kind of order in our approach to what's happening in the Middle East. So the markets are certainly going to be keying on that. But I think one thing that people aren't talking about that they should be in regards to the Middle East and oil prices is what happened in Saudi Arabia yesterday with the Houthi rebels firing missiles at Aramco facilities. I think that also could have a very significant impact on oil prices, particularly if they end up damaging some of those facilities and if that situation escalates.
You know, we've been watching this decline in stockpiles, that glutton oil that we've experienced for so long. You're seeing the light sweet crude prices here declining. We see the stockpiles declining now, 53 million barrels above average versus 302 last year. Ed, when you look at this, where is this going? What's your expectation for oil prices? So important to all parts of the economy and certainly to the markets.
Yeah, I would say that just war is a drag on the economy overall. As we have conflict in these other countries, it's going to be interfering with global distribution networks. Sanctions against Russia, trade war, all of this is just not good for distributing oil around the world, and that's going to affect markets in a negative way. It's going to be dragging down. I get reminded of George Washington's thing, so trade with all, entanglements with none. I'm just worried that we're going to get dragged down more and more in the region.
Well, a lot of people say that, the kinds of trade tensions that we're experiencing will end up being just a tax on consumers, of course. That's the big talk. But, this isn't done yet. Mark, I want to turn to you as we talk about the Fed and the likely impact of Fed rate hikes that are coming. We've been talking about June as being the next date for Fed rate hikes, but clearly it could be earlier, given what they said in Fed minutes. Expectations that we're going to hit that 2% inflation target sooner than expected. What do you see in your crystal ball for rate hikes?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it came earlier, and if this 2% inflation number ends up being conservative, especially if oil prices continue to go higher. I mean, we have, very, very low unemployment. It's full employment, as they call it. We have huge boosts in federal spending, and if oil prices go higher, that could be kind of, what tips it over to maybe some real inflation. I'm not talking about anything, to get too worked up about, but when you think about historical inflation in the United States, which averages over 3% over the past 100 years, 2% really is not that high. So I would not be surprised at all if at the end of 2018 we look back and see that prices actually went up more than 2%.
Got a long way to go. Guys, Ed and Mark, thanks for coming on today. Appreciate your time.
Thanks.